Have you ever noticed that the person you love, especially if they have a fearful avoidant attachment style, can seem completely emotionally unavailable at times? Maybe you felt it in your relationship. The moments when they seem distant, cold, or even like they don't care. And yet, you know deep down that this person isn't intentionally cruel. There's a reason behind that emotional shutdown, and it has less to do with how they feel about you and more to do with how they feel inside themselves. For many fearful avoidants, emotional numbness is a coping mechanism. It's not about rejecting love or rejecting you personally. It's about managing high levels of stress and overwhelm. Think of it like a circuit breaker in their nervous system. When emotions get too intense, when love, intimacy, conflict, or even just the everyday pressures of life pile up, their system has to protect itself. Numbing is the brain's way of saying, "This is too much for me right now. I need to shut down to survive." When a fearful avoidance shuts down like this, the emotion of love itself becomes hard to access. Love isn't gone, it's still there, but it's pushed so far down that they can't feel it, at least not in the moment. For partners on the outside, this can feel devastating. You might think, they don't love me, or they must not care about me at all. And while that pain is real, the truth is that it's not a reflection of their heart. It's a reflection of their nervous system being overloaded. It's important to understand what triggers this numbness. High stress levels are often a big one. Fearful avoidants by nature have a nervous system that is very sensitive to emotional intensity, whether it's conflict, closeness, or even the expectation of closeness. When stress hormones like cortisol spike, it becomes harder and harder for them to access their softer, vulnerable emotions, including love. They might act distant, make decisions that seem cold, or get into distractions just to cope. Another big factor is emotional overwhelm. Fearful avoidants often experience what I call emotion stacking. This is when multiple feelings, stress, anxiety, fear of losing autonomy, guilt, worry, pile up all at once. Their brain says, "I can't deal with all of this at once, and so the only way to survive is to shut down completely." Numbness is the end result of that survival instinct, a way to keep themselves from being flooded with emotions they can't manage. This is why they don't always reach out to you, and it's not a choice. It happens automatically. Here's an important piece to keep in mind. When an avoidant is numb, their ability to feel love is temporarily impaired. They might know logically that they care about you, that they love you, but the emotion itself is blocked. It's like trying to access a faucet that's been turned off. The water is still there in the pipes, but nothing is flowing. And for partners, this can feel like rejection or abandonment, especially if you don't understand what's neurologically going on with them. It can trigger your own fears, your own attachment wounds, because love feels like it's been taken away, when really it's just temporarily inaccessible. What often happens next is misinterpretation. You might notice a lack of affection in words, signals, or emotional connection, and start believing that their love has faded. Or you may overanalyze every action, every pause in a text message, trying to decode their feelings. And here's the thing. None of that decoding is going to help while they're in numb mode, because it's not about you, it's about their internal state. They are simply unavailable, not unwilling. This is why understanding and patience are so important when dealing with an avoidant partner. When you recognize that numbness comes from high stress and emotional overwhelm, it allows you to step back instead of reacting, thinking that they are cruel and just want to hurt you. You can give them the space they need, while also maintaining your own emotional health. This doesn't mean tolerating neglect or walking on eggshells forever. It means recognizing the difference between emotional shutdown and actual withdrawal of love because of high stress. Now, how can you tell when an avoidant is numb versus when they genuinely don't feel love? A key indicator is that numbness is temporary. It comes and goes, often triggered by stress or overwhelm. Once they've regulated, once their nervous system has returned to a calmer state, the love, care, and affection are still there. It might take time and reassurance to bring it back into expression, but it's not gone. If they truly didn't love you, you wouldn't see the small gestures, the moments of connection, or the attempts to come back after periods of getting their space. You also have to notice the signals that they are trying to fight through to get to you. They do it with caution through social media. I will post more videos about that too, so make sure you subscribe. And another thing to understand is that fearful avoidants often have a high threshold for emotional expression. When they do show love, it might not be the kind you're used to or the kind you expected. Their way of showing care could be through action rather than words, through stability rather than noticeable affection, or through being consistent rather than dramatic. This is important because if you expect constant verbal validation or high emotion displays, you might misread their low emotion style as a lack of love, when really it's just how they express it naturally. So, what can you do in the moment when your fearful avoidant partner seems numb? First, recognize that this is their coping mechanism kicking in. Don't take it personally. Second, offer calm presence and understanding rather than pushing for emotional expression. Pressuring them to feel or express love will often backfire, increasing their stress and prolonging the numbness. Third, focus on regulating your own emotions so you can remain steady and calm. Your calmness can be the grounding force they need to eventually reconnect with their own feelings, including love. It's okay to acknowledge your own pain. Loving someone who seems emotionally unavailable can be hard, and it's natural to feel hurt or disconnected when they're numb. But separating their temporary emotional shutdown from your worth and the reality of their love can help you hold on to perspective. The love is still there. It's just waiting for the right conditions to surface. So, when a fearful avoidant is numb, it's not a reflection of their love or lack thereof. It's a survival response to overwhelm, stress, and emotional intensity. The love is still there, even if it's buried under layers of stress and coping mechanisms. When you understand this, you can approach the relationship with patience, self-regulation, and compassion, giving both yourself and your partner space to navigate the natural ebbs and flows of emotional connection.